'Cause all I really wanna do is take a little trip with you and drive around the sun and take you up and over the stars.
Hi, everyone. It's really good to be here in Denver. I want to say that I'm the diversity portion of the speakers, but I'm not. I feel like I'm very privileged to be able to talk to you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for giving me your attention. I feel like when you go to an event, you see so many different speakers, and they tell you all these different things to do, and you leave and you have a bigger to-do list than when you started. So I want to avoid that today. And what I would love to do is do some teaching, tell some stories, have some interaction with you, and maybe get you to execute some stuff today while we're here, because you're already here. You've already made the decision to be here. Yes? No, so let's do this, right? If we put this down the center, on my left will be left side. So can you say yes? Amazing. And now we'll see if the right side can match that. On the right side, can you say yes? Yes. Left side? Yes. Right side? Yes. Amazing. All right, thank you. So if you didn't know anything about me, I wasn't loved as a kid, so any interaction would be amazing, you know? Thank you. So, what I would love to teach you is what I would love to help businesses with and brands with is how to use AI efficiently. AI is efficient, it's intelligence, effectively through process, and ethically. Who is here for the other AI sessions? Can I have a raise of hands? It's about 75% of the crowd. So you've seen some of the amazing AI speakers and what they were talking about, and ethics came up in both those big sessions. So what tends to happen as business owners is that we go and make all these promises. We make these promises to clients. We make these promises to team. We make these promises to ourselves. And hopefully, we can use AI to augment our goals and reach there quicker. So what I'd love to do is sort of teach you some concepts, some prompting. I'm going to give you some AI tools, obviously the use cases, and some tactics. Now, that is a very glorified bio of me, but I just released my second book last week. And I want to say to you that it is an absolute joy to have written a second book. Thank you. So if you get a chance to go check that out, please do that. But while you might see all these accomplishments, this was Ronsley 13 years ago, so 3 years into my entrepreneurial career, that was me. And I was a young entrepreneur not knowing how much entrepreneurship takes and what the responsibility of an entrepreneur is. I opened a restaurant, and let me tell you that this turned out so well, in quotes, that I can't watch an episode of The Bear without having PTSD. It's true. So, 16 years ago, I started my first business, which was a restaurant, because everyone told me to monetize my passion, and that was cooking for people. So I opened a restaurant. 4 years after that, about a year after this picture was taken, we did service on Saturday night, and on Sunday, all the locks of the restaurant was changed. And I had a legal battle that I had to deal with. And I had about $478,000 of debt 3 months after being married. And I have to tell you that $478,000 was the best education I got. In hindsight, not at the time. At the time, it wasn't the best thing ever, but in hindsight, it was the best education that I could get. Now, one of the hardest things as an entrepreneur is dealing with failure and dealing with setbacks, and sometimes we don't even want to try the things that we have in our brain, our dreams, our goals, because what if we fail? What if it doesn't work out according to plan. And I want to say this, it never works out according to plan. It doesn't. And I think one of the best things you can do as an entrepreneur, can I get a raise of hands? Who here has got their own business? Okay, and who here is working for a company and is a business leader or is working for a company? Okay, cool. So to get context here, there is this big jump that you have to do when you go from having a job and then going into entrepreneurship. And it wasn't something I was ready for. By the way, if you want all the slides, that's the QR code. And all the slides, and I'm going to mention a whole bunch of prompts and stuff like that. And you'll be able to get access to all of that in here. And I'll have that up towards the end as well. While we're going through this, one of the things I wanted to talk about is every business is going to have or need is an AI officer. Now, there's very interesting space out there with AI, especially because everyone's an AI expert, but they can't seem to fix the office printer for some reason, right? And you see these AI experts who are these marketing bros and just really good at converting, but they're not really good at delivering. So you have bought all these AI prompt packs that never really return. But here's what I'd love you to think about as all the business leaders that are here that are working for a company. If you can upskill yourself, here's some of the things for you to upskill yourself on. Firstly, understanding the key concepts and how to apply them when it comes to AI. Understanding them really, because no tool, I promise you, tools are going to come and go. If you focus on tools, they're going to come and go and they're going to become obsolete, right? Focus on the AI concepts and how to apply them. Find ways to automate recurring tasks intelligently. So if you're in a business and you already want to be the person to upskill yourself with AI, these are some of the things for you to learn, okay? How to integrate AI effectively, efficiently, ethically. How to use AI to keep brand promises. So if your brand promises trust, if your brand promises prestige, how do you use artificial intelligence to keep those brand promises? How to audit processes. What process do you have in your business that's working, not working? How to prompt engineer, how to build context, how to create a brand bot, and some advanced prompting techniques. So if any one of you are looking to upskill yourself, this is a list for you to follow. If you can search for these things, it'll really help. I'm going to start with a couple of concepts. And if you notice Gary in a lot of these images, Gary's my I suppose the person I look up to for leadership. I think coming from a place of humility and kindness, I really look up to him. So if you see a lot of images, that's me just fanboying over the fact that I get to have a chat with him. But the first concept I want to introduce you to is the value alignment problem. Now, this exists in general, okay? And what tends to happen is we think that we're not getting the right results out of artificial intelligence. And that's primarily because of the value alignment problem. And what that means is there's a difficulty that we have in specifying the objective in our minds completely and correctly. And this happens all the time. I mean, if you have clients and you have any requirements or projects that you've got to sign on, you know that when they come to you, it's very different to what they actually want. Because there's a value alignment problem. It's hard for us to explain entirely what we have as an idea or a concept in our head. So that already exists. So you want to combat that. Okay? So that's the first concept. The second concept is, how about we use AI to reduce human cognitive load? Okay, what I mean by that, we see so many of us dealing with depression and anxiety and overworked human beings. And what if we could augment that brain drain and give that to AI while we deal with the things that require courage and connection and collaboration and things that are very human in nature? Now, while we're talking about the augmentation of intelligence, I kind of want you to think about this, right? We, as a human species, as a human race, when a human baby is born on this planet, we have to send them to 12 years of training in a school for them to operate on this planet. That is available for less than $10 a month right now. IQ is commoditized. Does that make sense, team? Team? No. My left side. My right side. Oh my God, you guys you're going down. Left side. Right side. Thank you. Thank you for making me feel loved. It really helps. Thank you. So think about that, right? IQ is being commoditized, which brings us to this idea of augmenting intelligence, because you think about the three different time frames that we had. We had the Industrial Revolution that came around and commoditized machines and commoditized industry. There's lots of things that we do right now in our homes that require machines that we can't even imagine doing it manually anymore, right? So with the industrial age, we had computers that were created, and as computers allowed us to store data cheaply and easily, and a lot of data, and we got the information age. So the industrial age allowed us to have the information age, and those two ages allowed us to have now what we have, the intelligence age. And intelligence, like I mentioned, is being commoditized because each one of those ages commoditized industry, commoditized information because there's enough information available, and now we've commoditized intelligence. So the things that I get the most, and I get asked this a lot, is, I hear this a lot at least, is I don't actually get AI to do what I want it to do. And that's primarily because we're not asking it the right way. So I'm going to teach you a prompting framework. Is that cool? Is that cool? Thank you. So if we can prompt and we can ask and we can delegate to AI, then we can achieve we can get AI to hop on one foot if we wanted it to. We just have to tell it which foot and how we want it to land. We've got to give it all these different parameters that we think is common sense to us, okay? So let me give you this framework. It's called the Creator Prompt Framework. And if you notice, the first letters on the 7 things spell creator. So that's how I remember it. But there are 3 of the 7 parameters or values here that are most important. The first one is the result, okay? What's the ultimate goal of the prompt, and what is it that you want it to do? All right? Second is, what is the essential information? Now, when I'm talking about this Creator Prompt Framework, you can think of this as delegating to an AI, or you can think of it as delegating to another human being. And one of the biggest gaps we have is explaining exactly what we want to another human being even. So this framework will really help you explain exactly what you want if you want to delegate that to another human. So the second thing you want to say is, hey, this is the goal that I want you to achieve, and if you're going to achieve that goal, here are the most important pieces of information that you need to achieve that goal, okay? So that's the second piece of information. The third is, how do you want the final representation of that prompt, and what do you want it to look like? I'm going to give you an example in a second, but I just want to cover these 7 elements first. So if you had those 3, you have a good prompt. But now I want you to take that good prompt to the next level. You say, I would like you to act like this. I would like you to act like a marketing strategist. I would like you to act like a business consultant. I would like you to act like you give it an entity. What are the characteristics that you expect out of this entity before it sort of executes the goal? If you have an approach and how you want that information to be added, then give it the steps. Do you take this piece of information and do this with it? Finally, if there's any extra piece of information, you give that to it, and then finally let it know who the final output is for, okay? So I'm going to show you an example because I think that was a lot of information. So that's a worksheet that you can get, but here is an example. So act like my personal assistant. all right? The result I want is I'd love you to write me an email template for my podcast guests, informing them about an episode going live. The essential pieces of information you need is the episode number, the date it's released, the topics we covered, and if there are any assets for them to use. The approach that I want you to take is I want you to highlight their genius, I want you to thank them, I want you to mention something unique that we covered during the episode, and I would like you to ask them to share. You see how I'm being very specific? It's just an email template, but you see how I'm being so specific as to what I want and what I want to achieve, right? I want to tailor it, and I would love it to be more memorable, and I want it to create conversation. I want the output to be in my voice style, and the recipient is the podcast guest that has appeared on my podcast. Does that make sense? Yeah? Is that better than did you understand prompting before this? Yes or no? Yes. Is that more clearer, or is that made it more? It's better. Okay, thank you. All right. So this is, you can use this and you get access to all these resources if you use that QR code. So do that. A lot of the times I get asked about ethics. What do you mean by ethics, Ronsley? What do you mean by ethical AI? And I'm going to give you these 5 parameters for you to think about when it comes to ethical AI. The first is it goal-oriented and is it process-driven? Now, if it's not process-driven, then you're kind of letting the AI dictate the process, and that's not what you want. Because if you know the process, you just say, well, this is the goal, and this is the process that I want you to follow, or process, depending on which part of the world you're from. So I realized everyone's like, what is he talking about? Process. So goal orientation, process-driven. Second is, does it reduce human cognitive load? When you're using AI, are you just using it because it's a cool magic trick, or is it really reducing the human cognitive load? The third is it solving a meaningful problem? Right? Is it just trying to get rid of a bunch of people, or are you really trying to solve meaningful problems? The fourth, which is very important, is it transparent, is it diverse, and is it unbiased? Now, we know already that it is biased, because you might not notice, because you're in America, but if you study real English, you don't have a Z in analyze, or a Z, as you call it here. There's an S, and that's the real English. But if you type in real English into ChatGPT, it kind of responds in American English, because the web has been scraped from American English. You see? So it's already biased. So we want to combat that bias. We want to make sure that we take care of that. We want to make sure that our solutions on AI are transparent, diverse, and unbiased. And finally, we want it to be symbiotic. We don't want it to destroy things. We want it to be one with the ecosystem. And while I was writing this book, one of the things that I did was I interviewed a lot of indigenous elders around bringing back indigenous wisdom, because it's all about collaboration, it's all about connection, it's all about courage. And I remember talking to this Inuit lady, and halfway through the conversation, she said to me, Ronsley, you keep saying that artificial intelligence will easily be the biggest conversation of our lifetime. Who is thinking about my relative, the beaver? Who is thinking about my relative, the bear, and my relative, the tree? And I had this very quizzical look on my face, and she's like, you've never really heard anyone speak like that before, have you? I said, no. And she said, well, isn't our job to be the voice for the ones who can't speak? I was writing a book, and I felt really stupid at that point, because the wisdom in that one line was like so profound, right? So when we're thinking about using AI, I'd love for you to think about how you can use it for good. Okay, let's get into this 9 insane use cases. The first thing, now that we've established some interaction here, I would love for you to take out your phone and open up the Note app. So if you have iPhone, open up the Notes app. If you have Android, whatever the equivalent is, you can tell which user I am. Open the Notes app and find the dictation the dictation little icon that's there. All right? And what I'd love you to do for the next 1 minute, I'm timing here, is I want you to talk to the dictation, and all I want you to say is all the things that you have on your mind that you need to do. Whether it's now, whether it's this week, next month, whatever is on your mind for 1 minute, I want you to just talk to this note. Okay? Starting now. Come on, guys. I can see you. I noticed. I've been sitting in the room all day, noticing you crowd, and I realized that I needed to have this left and right thing happening to get your interaction. The books you want to write, the people you got to meet, the sales conversations you got to have, the emails you got to send, the time you got to spend with your loved ones. Okay. Now that you have that, I don't want you to edit anything. I want you to copy that, and I want you to put it into ChatGPT. And I want you to say, organize this in a logical manner. All right, come on. Copy, paste, put it into ChatGPT, and say, organize this in a logical manner. I promised that I would get you guys to do stuff, because the last thing I want is another to-do list item for you to do when you go home. And here's what's really interesting. Every time you're overwhelmed, every time you got a lot on your plate, put 1 minute on the clock and just speak that out onto your phone. Then take that, don't edit that, put that into an AI and say, organize this in a logical manner. And what it does is it reduces human cognitive load. All the things that you have in your brain that you've been trying to remember and you're trying to organize and you're trying to keep in one place is all organized for you. Who's got a result already? Can you tell me what the result looks like? Is it?
Oh, it's really motivating. It's very comforting.
It's very motivating. It's very comforting. Amazing. Anyone else? Thank you. Anyone else? Yeah. Anyone?
It provided for work-related tasks, personal tasks, family tasks, and miscellaneous tasks.
Amazing. It organized the family tasks and all the different tasks according to the way you wanted it. Amazing. Yes?
It provides a sense of urgency for
It provides a sense of urgency for important
important tasks.
tasks. Guys, that didn't even take us like a minute and a half. You see how that one use case can be so powerful? Like that, I've got another 8 more for you, all right? We're not going to do it all, but I'm going to show you how you can do that. The second one is, one of the hardest things to do in general is to analyze your audience, because they're in a very different place to you. So even if you're a business leader or you're an entrepreneur or you're a business, it doesn't matter. It's, your audience is at a very different space, and empathizing with them at that is extremely hard. So using AI to do that is very useful, primarily because you can do things at speed. So the first thing, who here is in marketing? There's a lot of marketers here, well, at least 50% of the room. So the first things that you could do is first do your audience Y stack. And what I mean by a Y stack is, what are your audience's pain points? What are their fears? What are their frustrations? What are the mistakes that they're making? What are the solutions that they want? What are the aspirations they have after their problems are solved? Now, if you had to think about all those things, can you imagine how long it would take you to do that? Right? So that's something you can give AI, and you can get your audience Y stacks. You can get all your audience's fears, frustrations, wants, needs. And then based on that, you can say, well, now I have why my audience does all these things. create me a user persona or multiple user personas of this type of audience, right? And then from there, you can go, well, if this is my audience and this is their user persona, what are the different types of cohorts that I should be targeting? And what is the hypothesis that this cohort needs to get in terms of content? And if you don't know what I'm talking about from a cohort or hypothesis perspective, Gary's new book, Day Trading Attention, covers all of that. And cohorts and hypotheses are his actual terms. So he talks about how you can get attention today and how you can use, and this is how you can use AI to analyze your audience, get your user persona, and then get your hypothesis and your cohorts. And then it becomes easy for you to create content. Does that make sense? Yeah? Left side. Yes. Right side. Yes. You know, the same volume. Left side. Yes. Right side. Yes. Thank you. Okay. Number 3. Get AI to write, think, and articulate like you. And this is really important. Everyone has a different style of doing things. Every brand has a different way of communicating. Every brand has a different audience. Every brand has a different way, different values, or different brand identity that they try to keep make sure that they hit. So what we want is to have custom instructions. So here, who uses ChatGPT? Okay, who does not use ChatGPT? Do the ones who have their hands are up right now, do you use something else? Yeah, what is that? Okay, anything else? Copilot, anything else? Okay, so, but people are using AI in general, right? So, but most of us here are using ChatGPT. Who here is using ChatGPT with custom instructions? 1, 2, 3, 4. Who's using ChatGPT and has no idea what custom instructions are? Okay. Let's change that. Okay, so I'm going to give you this template, but in a bit I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to show you where these fit in. But if you open ChatGPT, and up on the top, I think there's a spot that asks you to customize ChatGPT, and there's these 2 boxes which allow you to customize ChatGPT. And in the first box, which is on the left-hand side there, yeah, left-hand side, is what would you like ChatGPT to know about you? So who you are, what are your current projects, what are the interests, what are your values and principles, what's your learning style, what's your personal background, what's your goals? All right, that's the first context piece. The second context piece is how you would like ChatGPT to respond. Okay, so what kind of format do you want? What kind of tone? What detail do you want? What kind of suggestions do you want it to give you if you ask it for that? Do you pay attention to bias? Is it solving problems? What kind of critical thinking level does it need? What kind of creativity does it need? Now, I'm going to share my screen in a sec, and hopefully I'm going to show you on ChatGPT where that all fits in so that you know where that goes. Team, I'd love if I could share my laptop. Perfect. Okay, that didn't work. Team? Yes? No? It's getting awkward. Yay! All right. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, so you can see my cursor here. Up the top, if you click on that icon, you'll see Customize ChatGPT here, and it'll open these 2 boxes. So up the top here, you'll see the template that I had before, but filled out for me. You know, this is who I am. Here's a bit about me. Here are my current projects. Here are my interests, my values, principles, communication styles. And this is the second box that I spoke about. And you notice this first part here. I'm actually telling it how I want it to respond. I want it to address me as Ronsley, and I always wanted to include 2 or 3 potential follow-up questions in every response. So I'm not even thinking of the follow-up questions. I'm asking it to think for me. Do you see that in every single prompt? I'm saying I want you to avoid some of these words that are very AI-like, and I want you to follow these instructions. This response format, this creativity level, and then you save it, and then it is very specific, and because now it knows who I am, and now it knows how I want it to respond to me. So you see how valuable that is. It's not making up generic content. It's not making up generic ideas. It's not making up generic thinking. It is being very specific, and it's actually using my context, which is very, very important. Context is more important than content. Thank you, team. I'd love to go back to my slides, please. Thank you. So when you have these custom instructions, it makes it very easy for you to be very specific with AI. And now if you're using Copilot or using Claude or using Perplexity, you can have this in a PDF and then remind it before you start prompting, these are my custom instructions, okay? And while you're at it, ask it to analyze your voice style and your writing style. Now, what the biggest mistake that people make here when they ask AI to analyze their writing style is they say, analyze my writing style, and the person will give it a transcript to analyze. Now, we don't write like we speak at all. In fact, our speaking is really horrible. It's nothing like the way we want it to sound or write when we sound. So what I encourage you to do is take an article that's already written in the way that you want it to be written, that's your voice style, and ask it to analyze that. And then once it analyzes that, you say, okay, based on this analysis, now write me this. Okay, that way it'll keep your voice style, and it'll keep it accurate, and you'll always write like the way you want it to. Okay? Number 4, if you're not using AI to reply to emails, I promise you, you're wasting a lot of brain space. And you're going to ask me what kind of emails. Well, a whole bunch of emails. You get all these emails that come in, and you can have a simple prompt. And by the way, I have all these prompts for you. So just scan that thing, get into the group, and I'll point you to where that lives. But initial contact, you should have AI drafting all these things for you so that you're not having to think all the time. Sales inquiries, support requests, partnership inquiries, these are all things that you can literally say, someone's responded, someone sent me that, can you please write me a draft to respond to this in this manner? Yeah? So I think email takes up a lot of our space, brain space, mind space, and inbox space, and space in general. And this is an easy way to reduce human cognitive load. If you have a book or you have assets that you already have, like a brochure, you can take that and create collateral from there. Like, for example, let me tell you, I just finished writing the book, as I mentioned, and I was like, okay, I finished writing the book, now what? What happens now? How do I incentivize people who have finished reading the book? So I put my whole book into AI, and I said, well, this is my manuscript. What kind of book bonuses can I create? And I want you to ideate about 10 or 15 ideas, and I want you to pick your favorite one. And I'd like you to think this through step by step, and I want you to give me your reasoning. And it ideates these 15 ideas and then picks its top 3, and they're amazing. And it first writes me a whole checklist. So if you want to execute my book, I've got a checklist on all the things you got to do to grow audience, revenue, operations, and brand using AI. And it did that in less than 15 minutes. Do you know how long that would have taken me to do? That's the first thing it did. Then I was like, well, okay, I have this podcast that has over 100 episodes, and I've interviewed some really cool people, and these are all their transcripts. Can you tell me where in the book these transcripts will fit? It would have taken a team of 5 people 3-4 weeks to go through that and figure that out. It did that in less than 10 minutes. It literally went through the book. This is the manuscript. Here's the transcripts. Oh, it fits in here. It fits in here. These are the things that you can say. That is reduction of human cognitive load. Making sense, team? Yeah. Thank you. Claude Sonnet 3.5 is absolutely phenomenal. And if we get a chance towards the end, I'll maybe share my screen again and I'll show you what it can do. But in Claude Sonnet 3.5, you can literally program a game. And you can say, write me a snake game. Write me a snake game, or write me a game that is a first-person shooter and it does this. And it will write you the code, and then you can send that code to someone else and they can play the game. So here's the fun fact. I can program in 21 languages, programming languages. That just made me redundant, like useless. Like there's no reason for me to remember any syntax to program again. So just imagine the power of that. Each one of you are now our programmers. It's all left up to your imagination. That's it. Imagination is the key here. So I highly recommend that. Number 6, repurpose content at speed using AI. Now, once you have a transcript, or if you record a podcast, or you already have an article, or you already have these things that you do, we know that the best thing to do is repurpose that. Make images of that, make reels of that, make smaller social posts of that, create Twitter threads. There's all these different ways to use content that works, and you can use AI to do that at speed. Yeah? Number 7, ideate and create pillar content for clients. Now, a lot of you here are marketers. Use the audience analysis we spoke about earlier, use the cohort development, and then from there, if you know what your client's audience, they deal with, what their fears, frustrations, wants, and needs are, you can create a really powerful pillar piece of content every week that you get your client to record that you can then create all the socials from. Does that make sense, marketers? Yes? Left? Right? Oh my God, you guys need food so bad. Okay. Number 8, you can learn anything at speed. And by the way, I wrote an AI that will help you do this. And I'll give you access to that if you go into that school group. But I'll tell you how I built it, and I think that's important. So who here has read Tim Ferriss's 4-Hour Chef? A few people. So in Tim Ferriss's 4-Hour Chef, what he does is he breaks down how to become a chef by these principles called the Disc Cafe framework, how to take any skill and learn the 80-20. So what is the 20% that you need to learn for that skill that will give you 80% command over that skill? Does that make sense? So he's used this framework. So what I did was I just created an AI that took anything. So you can say, I want to learn to sell on a webinar in 20 minutes. And it'll use this framework and tell you what the 20% you're going to learn in the 20 minutes to give you 80% of the skill. So this goes with any framework. Just think about it. How long does it take to do a SWOT analysis in a business? It would take days and weeks. You would have to go in and do that, and it would take so much time. That SWOT analysis can be done like that now. The frameworks, the process is everything. So AI tools are not as important as the process that dictates how to get the result. Okay? And then finally, building AIs for specific functions. Now, having an AI that actually creates your audience cohorts, or having an AI that writes your emails, or having an AI that creates your brand briefs, or having an AI that does a SWOT analysis, that's the next step. Because usually, every business has their own methods, their own ways of doing things, and you have to do it over and over again. But rather than doing it over and over again, why not just delegate that to AI? Because then you're reducing your human cognitive load, because you know the process, you know the framework that needs to be applied, and you know how to do it. And if you want to build these, who here knows what custom GPTs are? A few people. Okay. Team, can I share my screen again, if you don't mind, really quickly? And I'm going to show you how you can get to custom GPTs. Now, this is ChatGPT. On your left-hand side, if you see here, it says Explore GPTs. And here there's a whole collection of different AIs that do different things. For example, there's an AI here called Write For Me. And you can tell that there's about 5 million conversations in here. It's number one in the writing. It's got a few starter prompts. And it's really good. So it'll be like you start the chat, and it'll say, it'll write for you. So this is a custom GPT that's specifically for writing. Like that, there's a whole bunch of different ones for productivity, for research and analysis. In fact, I've used Consensus and Scholar GPT for my book. There's over I think there's over 51 references in the book of different research papers. And if it was not, the book took me about 21 months to write, but if it wasn't for AI, it would have probably taken 5 years. And the reason for that is because of the tools available. And there's different things that you can do here, and I'd encourage you to go and check out all these GPTs. And while we're here, I'm going to show you Claude AI, which is also really useful, Gemini, which will load. Actually, there's a couple of things I want to mention before I finish this talk. The first thing is that you've got to understand that the context window of how much you give AI is really important. So sometimes you're talking to AI and then it starts what we call hallucinating. It's not really hallucinating, it's just forgotten the context. If the context window has already surpassed, it's forgotten the previous information. So Gemini, for example, has got a context window size of 1.5 million tokens. That's a large context window. You can put the whole Harry Potter book series in that and ask it questions. ChatGPT doesn't have that large one. I think 64,000 or 128,000 is probably the most it can do. So the reasons for different AIs, and they do different things. So they to use the AI for what your use case is. And then this is another one that's free, so you don't really have to pay for ChatGPT or Claude or Perplexity or any of that. Grok is free and it's fast, and it uses a whole bunch of different models. So here are some of the different tools that you can use. I highly recommend, obviously, trying different things out. Perplexity is obviously another one. I'd love to go back to my slides, please. And you can. The main thing is to play with it. I know there's an idea that AI is going to replace a lot of things, but how about we not be the intelligent species that fears intelligence? Let's not do that. And I kind of think about it this way, right? We are intelligence. Intelligence organizes itself. We're a carbon-based intelligence. We require food and water to survive. Think of AI as a silicon-based intelligence. It requires power and data to survive. Data being very important. So all of you who have things that you care about and you feel really strongly about and you feel is not being represented, it's really, really important that you go out and give that a voice, capture that, document that, put that out on the internet, because that data is important. That data might save us. That data might help us not be the species that gets overrun by a more intelligent species, because that's what we're doing right now. We want to change that narrative. We want to be the intelligent species that doesn't fear intelligence. So if you want the slides, here's where you go, ladies and gentlemen. And before I go, I'd love to get a selfie, if you don't mind. It's my thing. But I always forget to do that. So if you could stand up and we could get a good selfie, that would be amazing, if you don't mind. And I would love, perfect. Thank you. And maybe raise your hands and like you're pretending like you enjoy yourself, like you're having fun. Thank you. Thank you, team. Thank you very much.